Hey everybody, I'm Eric,
I'm Carson.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jack.
and we are some of the guys behind Founders Day, and you are watching Craven Something Scary.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, subscribers, patrons, and my amazing Cravenites. Welcome all to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Well, guys, we have been looking forward to tonight now. This is something that I'm very excited to have, or this guest I'm very excited to have, excuse me, tonight. And as you saw there in the intro, we had several folks that were involved with Founders Day. And Shane was not able because of scheduling to join us at that time. So we get to have him one-on-one together, just right here, one-on-one. And it's going to be amazing tonight. Just real quick, I want to mention that if you have a burning question for Shane about Founders Day or any of the work that he's done, student body, et cetera, you can definitely send your questions in, and we will get to as many as possible tonight. But of course, due to time constraints and our own discussion, we won't be able to get to all of your questions, but just know this, it's not personal. Don't take it personal. It's just the way it goes, but definitely send it in. And if there is one that you want to make sure that we cover, you do have the ability to send a super chat. If you send a super chat in, I will move you ahead of everyone else to the front of the line. We'll put your question up on the screen for Shane. And also, your super chat supports the channel. It helps keeps the light on here, and I appreciate that. So it's a win-win for everyone. Okay, so you do have that option if you would like to take advantage of that opportunity. Direct access to Shane, which is pretty awesome. All right. Having said that, I also want to give a blanket hello to the chat. I see everyone here as more folks are coming in. Appreciate you being here, Mark and DJ, Paula. I see you, Melissa and Jerry. Brandon the Belden. What's up, Brandon? I see you're here. And Nola. Hey, Nola, you got the notification. I'm so glad. And my great friend Knight over at the Night Watch Zone. What's up, Knight? Good to see you, man. Glad you could make it. And Mayanne is here as well. Mayanne will be moderating the chat tonight. Thank you, Mayanne, for helping to moderate the chat as we continue this discussion or get started. Paula, again, hello to you. And to Scott, good old Scotty says, good evening. I joined First Cut today. Well, thank you, Scott, for becoming a channel member. That is amazing. I really appreciate it. Glad to have you in the inner circle here of the channel and supporting the channel every month. That's amazing. Thank you so much. All right. Well, guys, on that note, we're gonna get started. Okay, let's take advantage of as much time as we have. So my guest now is the production designer for Founders Day. Founders Day is a movie that I really thoroughly enjoyed. As you guys know, I talked a lot about it over the last couple of months, and I'm excited to hear what Shane has to say about the film from his unique perspective as the production designer. It's going to be a great conversation. So please welcome in the chat, give a round of applause to our guest tonight, Shane Meador. Welcome, Shane.
Hey there.
Hey
Thanks
there.
for having me, Stephen.
It's my pleasure. Seriously, I appreciate you being here. It means a lot that you made the time. And it's going to be, we're going to have a blast. I can't wait. So thank you so much. And let's see here. What I'd like to do before we get into specifics of the film, if we could, Shane, I'd like to talk about kind of your origin story, man, because I find it really fascinating, and I know you've probably told this story a million times by now, but I
Hmm.
really enjoy hearing when you, in your own life, discovered you had this passion for art and production design, and when did you know that was what you wanted to pursue?
Well, back in school, I mean, I always loved movies, but
Mhm.
there were certainly specific movies like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which had very lush design, which caught my eye.
Okay.
But I went to film school, but I wanted to learn about composition, not necessarily to be a designer, but so I started to. I took more drawing and painting classes than I did film classes,
Mhm.
and ended up doing production design on other students' films, on a professor's film, uh, and
Wow.
then started pursuing art department a couple of years right after school. So I started out on a little movie called Songcatcher, just interning on that, and went from that to a couple more movies. I got to I got to work on Sam Raimi's The Gift as
Nice. Yes.
first a set dressing PA, and then weirdly ended up running video assist on that, and got to do
Wow.
a Tales from the Crypt movie in Jamaica as a scenic painter, and
Wow.
so just sort of went from movie to movie as crew for a while,
Mhm.
and then I settled down a little bit, worked some day jobs, and
Okay.
started designing for theater and for puppetry and the occasional short film. And then at one point, I went back into film and just started designing local shorts and locally made features. Um,
Mhm.
and that eventually just sort of snowballed a little bit. I had a group of friends that we'd make a horror film once a year, and we did that for about 4 years straight. Um, and I met Eric Bloomquist for the first time on a Lifetime like killer stalker shark movie that
Nice.
we were both working on, and
Cool.
then he needed a designer for She Came from the Woods, and so I jumped on
Mhm.
with that, and I've done 3 movies for him and worked other movies with him in other capacities. So
Oh, that's
that's
great.
kind of that truncated version of the journey.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. And it's so cool how, and I've noticed is like a lot of folks I speak to, where as you begin to meet people and you work with them and you demonstrate your work ethic and personalities, you click really well,
Mhm.
that there is this kind of this sense of loyalty almost like getting the gang back right together, the team back.
Yeah.
And that's so cool because I imagine for you, right, especially with Eric being a director as well as an actor, of
Hmm.
course, but a
Yeah. Yeah.
director, I mean, knowing him now after working this much with him, and I know you, I mean, imagine, right, that you have a real sense going into a project. If he
Hmm.
were to call you today and say, "Hey, I got a new production, new film," you already are ahead of the game, aren't you? With it, with in many ways.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love working with him and with his crew that he puts together. He's one of the most organized and prepared people that I've worked with in the
Hmm.
business. And also, everybody on his crew is just super nice and sweet and no drama. And
Nice.
everybody's there because they love it. So,
Oh, that's fantastic. And no drama. Oh my gosh, that right there. I know that
yeah,
is
yeah,
gotta be a relief, man. That's oh boy. Especially right in the film world, in the Hollywood world, I would
yeah.
imagine there's a lot of that lurks around the corner, sometimes. And
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah, that's if you can avoid that, and that's great. Wonderful. And you get so much more work done, and plus you get to know the rest of the team too. Everyone starts to get
Hmm.
a feel for each other, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I bet that helps efficiencies with, as far as meeting deadlines of schedules and,
It
and all those
does.
things, right? Because I know that they don't give a lot of time make these films. So,
No, not
and
very
I
much
think,
time at all.
in fact, wasn't it? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be mistaken off
Sure.
memory. I think Eric said this was an 18-day shoot. Am I right, or is that wrong?
He might have been done some pickup days and such, but the primary shoot was 12, I believe.
12 days. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was some,
Wow.
like some of the aerial footage they have at the beginning. I know that that was a separate shoot day,
Hmm.
but yeah, maybe
Wow. That's
yeah, it's
incredible.
fast.
That's incredible. I
So
just, that blows my mind even hearing that again. 12 days. And when you watch the movie, like, I would never, I knew, just because of getting to know folks in the business a little bit.
mhm.
I understand that. But that aside, like, just analyzing the film, watching it, it doesn't look like a 12-day production. It really looks much like, there's no sense of, for me anyway, there's no sense of a rush to any of it when I'm watching it. It's
Part
incredible.
of it that is how prepared they are. I
Yeah.
mean, I received the script well ahead of time,
Okay.
and so I'm doing and coming up with concepts and stuff ahead of time before that.
Hmm.
And Eric is sending me location choices, and we're having discussions
Okay.
about that before we ever land. But he knows exactly what he wants when he starts shooting. So
Hmm.
12 days isn't ideal. I mean, we'd love to have more, but
Sure.
you know,
Sure. But you guys
but
got it
but
done. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Now, let's move into Founders Day again. I guess, if it's cool with you, let's keep on that track.
Okay.
And so you get the script. What were your initial thoughts? So, yeah, or even, how did it work? Did you get a call from Eric, says, "Hey, I got a movie. I'd love to have you come back with me"? How did that initially get started? The opportunity.
I mean, yeah, that's how it goes.
Okay.
I did another movie with him between, actually I did two movies between She Came from the Woods and Founders Day. We did
Okay.
one that he was a uh, production manager on, so he
Hmm.
wasn't the director. And then we also did um, a high school ghost musical in between. So, and we had also seen each other in between those time periods because
Hmm.
um, at Fright Fest, you know, and so
Oh
we'd been
yeah.
discussing it just kind of in person
Okay.
as we were working on these other projects. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And
and at some point he
so,
sent me the script. I forget the
yeah.
exact timeline, and
Mhm.
um, at one point he sent me some concept work he had commissioned for the founder, for instance, and then I did my own sketch. But that ultimately, you know, a lot of people were involved in that. So that was
Okay.
primarily uh, his vision, uh, and then I did my own version of it, and then it went to Tammy Gibbons, who is the costume designer, and
Mhm.
Tony Gardner, who designed the mask, ultimately based on Eric's ideas. And so it was just sort of this collaborative process. But the real credit, yeah,
Wow. Man, I tell you, that's an intimidating look. I would not want to see someone wearing that bearing down on me. Let me just tell you, Shane, that is, whew, my goodness. Um, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying that the math, like what we see here, this was kind of a teamwork or team collaborative approach to this. Is that right?
yeah, certainly led by Eric. And as I said, he had some concept work done ahead of time.
Okay.
So I got to be a part of the conversation, but ultimately, credit goes to Eric and Tony Gardner and Tammy Gibbons for executing it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's a great. I love the costume, the mask, the whole nine. I thought it was really cool. Mayanne says it looks super cool and creepy. Yeah, it it really is. It really is. Trust me. And I know that there's a few folks here in the chat that have not yet been able to see the film. And so just hang tight, guys, because It will be coming out on demand. So it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if it maybe was in March. Are you aware of a release date by chance? I
I
haven't.
haven't been given a release date. No.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So we're just kind of we're in that lay in wait mode, keeping our
Yeah.
eyes peeled.
Yeah.
But for all of you who are here that have not seen it yet, make sure that you've got it on your watch list and jot that down because, and I'll be reminding you guys too because once the movie is out to rent, for like $6 or whatever, where a lot more folks can do it, I want to host a watch party, and so hey, I'm going to reach out to you and Eric and the whole team and see if anyone's interested in coming back and doing a live commentary as we watch the movie together. So just something to think about, planting the seed.
All right. All right.
Um, but yeah, it's a great film. I really enjoyed it, and Jason says the mask is incredible. Yeah, it is. It really is. And what's interesting when I watched it on the second time,
Mm-hmm.
and of course and I was telling Eric this, and Carson, because one sign to me of good writing of a story is where, especially when you're talking about a whodunit
Mm-hmm.
mystery, which is really what this is in a lot of ways, and I love that. But when you watch it the first time, you're just taking in everything for the first time. You don't know where we're headed, right? And then it's all revealed. Well, for me, when I watched it a second time, so I got to see this again. So I watched it a second time, and I thought it was so amazing. And I want to ask you, when you got the script, how
Mm-hmm.
did you feel about what I'm about to say as you were reading it? Because I'm noticing these little subtle things that are happening that makes, oh my gosh, it is like now that I know this everything, you can clearly see things that you don't see the first time. But
Mm-hmm.
and here's the thing, like they didn't have to include those little things, but they did. And I told them how impressed I was with the writing because anytime I watch one of these films that's a who done it and they take the time to put little nuances is all I'm going to say that you pick up on when you understand the story fully. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that makes for a great movie. That makes for what I consider a very rewatchable movie. Like I want to see it again. Did you notice in the script as you read through it, did you kind of get a sense that those details were there and that was going to make this a really good story?
Yeah, I think I did. And just in terms of the character interactions and
Yes.
where all
Yes.
those relationships go and where that
Hmm.
builds up to,
Yes.
definitely that comes across in the script. I think with performances, certainly some of the performances
Hmm.
surpass my expectations when I'm just reading the script.
Hmm.
And then I try to add to that myself. So
Hmm.
when you are when you're adding small details about the killer, like within the movie. For instance,
Yeah.
there's messages written and such throughout the movie, and there
Hmm.
are clues within the messages as to both in the what's written, small details
Yes.
at the side,
Yes.
the style that it's written in are all clues as to who the
Hmm.
the murderer is. So
Yes. It's so cool. So I'm like, I encourage everyone, like whenever it does come out on demand, and it will be coming. So just we got to be patient. It'll be out when it hits. We'll do a watch party. I want everyone to buy it. I would encourage you to buy it. I think it's a purchase worthy film, and I'll buy my copy digitally when it comes out, and then also the Blu-ray because I think Eric said there was going to be a physical release of this movie
okay.
and commentary and all kinds of stuff. So I got to have that. But I highly encourage everyone here who's listening and watching this that if you've already seen it once already in the theaters, if you're one that it was some folks had to drive a little bit to see it. So I know a lot of you didn't have a theater close to you, but for those that did, and you watched it at least one time, get ready for the second viewing. It's rich. It's so rich the second time through, even. And you guys want to plan on that because it's not, it's something that is just, it really sticks out. That's all I'm going to say. I won't say any more. And it's smart. It's a smartly written movie, in my opinion. But let's get back to the production design because
Okay.
let's get in your wheelhouse because this is what was your initial thoughts? Okay, you read the script. How does your method work? How does your brain? Are you like, okay, I'm already picturing this, or I could picture that. I could. What kind of walk us through that process, if you could?
The first time I read a script, I just try not to have too many preconceptions. There might be images that come to mind, but
Okay.
I also want to read it and just read it as an audience first. Try to enjoy it.
Okay.
And then also talk to Eric and Carson and find out like what it is they want from this story.
Okay.
And then I'll get certain ideas, about where I want to take the story. And I'll send those ideas usually through Eric. I'll send them to Eric and he discusses with Carson and they get back to me. And, plenty of ideas are thrown out that are not used.
Sure.
But, we just try to get to where it's going. I think with this script, there's a tonal balancing act to the story, So it's small town, it's autumnal, it has elements of comedy, but also elements of pathos. There's moments where it is meant to be funny or scary, but also moments that are just supposed to be real human moments. So
yes,
you want to try to balance all those things in the movie. You look at the time of the year and you decide, what are the things you can do there? This is a very specific time of the year, essentially like post-Halloween, most of the movies. So there's still remnants of Halloween, say decorations within the movie theater, but everyone else has moved on to that sort of limbo between Halloween and Thanksgiving, or in this case, Founders Day. So,
that's right. Yeah.
So you have that wholesome small town feel. Then in places like the classroom, we really tried to push it further back in time a little bit, like try to give a sense of nostalgia to that space.
Okay.
And just because that roots it both in a small town environment and also has a certain emotional effect on the viewer. It gives them a sense of safety,
Yes,
in a
that's
movie
right.
that's not safe. So
true.
And that's very much what it's about too. This turning over of these this ideal Americana and how it's being corrupted, and how these different people at different parts of the society are reacting to that. So
yes. Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. No, please go ahead.
And then there's things like the mayor's office and the town hall that
right.
needs to again be pulled back to Americana. It could be as simple as the high windows that we had with the big curtains. There was one scene we were gonna, in the town hall meeting, we weren't gonna shoot towards the curtains very much just because it's easier to control the light if you shoot away. But if you look at old signing of the Constitution paintings and such, there are these really high velvet curtains there. And so we did that to try to bring that in. And then there's the branding of the two political campaigns in the story. And, which just sort of starts to make it feel like it's a real world. It's not just
Yes,
the grittiness of it, but it's also the details sometimes.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it kind of shows like the illusion of like the perception, I maybe is a better word, of the small town feel and everything's, that family atmosphere. But even in small town environment, it's not immune from those same power struggles, power hungry, all that stuff that you typically think, I want to get away from that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's lurking everywhere because everyone's human and susceptible to that. And I like that. It's like kind of peeling back the curtain and saying, "Oh man, this is not exactly what you think it is." And I'm gonna be real careful here because I don't want to give any spoilers away because I'm aware a lot of folks in the chat are dying to see this movie. And so, but you'll understand where I'm coming from when the mayor, whenever there's the meeting towards the end of the movie, after a
Mm-hmm.
very significant event happened in the family, and you could literally see how the mayor, right, who's supposed to be all in control, and they're the ones that are supposed to keep everybody safe, or they're looking to this individual, and you kind of start to see unraveling happen from the one person that you're counting on to not unravel. And it's kind of, that scene where, and it's like, wow. And it just go again, it's just, to me, it's underlies the idea that anyone at any moment at any time could not be what you think they are, and everyone's human, and everyone handles circumstances differently, right? And anyway, I won't ramble on, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from on that scene there. When yeah,
There's a lot of things happening in that scene. There's an
yes,
unraveling, but there's also it's a very controlled unraveling. There's
yep,
also it's in the face of tragedy, but there is a
it is.
comic element to the performance in that scene as well.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of layers in that scene.
Well, and right before that scene, kind of what brought that scene on, I told Eric this, that it stuck with me the first time I saw it, and I just died. Is and is it the commissioner? It's the commissioner, right? I'm blanking out the female commissioner. Yeah, love that character, by the way. And when she says, "Well, that's positive ID," just, you remember that scene?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just like, it was great. It was a great mix and a great balance, I thought, tonally, of things. And um, but now getting back to location, because you mentioned earlier that Eric had shared some of the locations. So
Mm-hmm.
so how do you approach it when you're said, okay, when you're told, okay, here's where we're going to be shooting practically? I think Eric
Uh-huh.
said it was all practical, if I remember right. Right? It was,
Yeah, we didn't do
yeah,
any like
no
full
stages.
builds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're approaching practical locations, which are kind of by their nature set and built and
Mm-hmm.
done, is it more challenging for you because you have to be maybe more creative to make it work with visually what you're wanting to see, and Eric, and it's already an established building. You can't build a wall here, and you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
No,
you
no,
can't create it.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
And you could actually do that within an established place. You could build
Mhm.
walls or change the spaces and
That's
such.
true. That's true.
Um, on a 12-day shoot with a small crew, it is best um, to use existing locations as much as you can.
Sure.
And so part of that's the town, Milford, and
Hmm.
it's already there. You have to accentuate what's there. Um,
Okay.
the you know, I got a bunch of for the festival, and I think the festival was bigger than what ended up on camera actually, but we brought
Uh,
in we got a lot of actual vendors to come in and volunteer and set up their tents, and
Oh, nice.
then my set decorator on that movie, Mary Carlson, she's from the area, so and she does a lot of event decoration and that sort of thing. So I ask for specific things and she's able to find them. Like, can you get me giant dried corn stalks? And she knows exactly where to find them in that
Oh,
area.
sweet.
The mayor's office was in a city hall building, so the architecture of
Oh,
it was
great.
proper.
Mhm.
But there is a bank vault in there that plays a role at one point,
Mhm.
um, as, as a doorway. And
Mhm.
so, and we brought in other stuff, curtains, we brought in bird cages, we brought in character specific items, we cleared out all the junk that was in there.
Mhm.
Um, so in that case, it's about using what's existing there. And sometimes you can actually scavenge from the site a little bit, you
Okay.
know, you know, find the best cabinets that you're allowed to use within that area, but also go out and get supplemental stuff to bring in, character
Mhm.
details to bring into the set.
Okay.
For the houses, like Allison's house, Eric gave me the choice of I think 3 or 4 different possible houses.
Oh,
So
nice.
you take a look at those. There was a concern that one of them was a little too close to another house we'd used on a previous film, just in the sense that
Mm.
it's older, comes across as a little more upscale New England,
Mhm.
but there were ways to take that and both use the larger space to have more creativity shooting wise, but
Okay.
also being able to doing certain things that make it feel a little more working class than it was. Switching
Yeah.
out the designer Japanese lamps that were in there
Oh
you
gosh.
know, just something that's a little more like a version of a like a large like stained glass diner lamp, that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
Just small details
Okay.
like that can go a long
Yeah.
way. Or using details that are quirky to the house in interesting ways, like that the house that we decided on has a bathtub in one of the bedrooms, like that's existing. And so then
Okay.
finding ways to make that interesting, really use that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
there's those sorts of things. Or there's a scene, the last scene in the movie, and I won't talk about it too much, but there's the last scenes of the movies, you're cutting back and forth between 2 different locations. And one of the locations is
Oh,
an interior location.
okay.
And we were originally supposed to be um, shooting at a university, and that location uh, got we lost that location. And so then we were
Oh.
shooting in the conference room of the hotel we were staying in, which I was not super fond of the look of it.
Yeah?
So
Oh my goodness. Wow.
so so not trying to spoil too much, but I
Yeah.
pitched, and this is the nice thing about working with a small crew of guys that of people that are very, very collaborative,
Mhm.
is I then took them and showed them images from 1984, both the commercial and the movie, you know,
Yes.
and
Nice.
also parallax view, and
Okay.
pitched like just lower the lighting, make everything symmetrical, add a few small details,
Mhm.
and then
Wow.
it gave it a sense of foreboding and a little bit this sort of melancholy, like, is this a happy
Mhm.
ending type of ending.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times it's about also how do we use the location,
Okay.
uh, how do we use it to tell a story,
Mhm.
and what
Wow.
changes can we make as a team in order to make that work.
That's amazing. And, You did a great job. I mean, seriously, my hats off to you, man. It looks visually fantastic. And again, I go back to the whole 12 days. I can't imagine making a feature length film of this scale in 12 days of
It
shooting. It's
it wouldn't be
incredible.
enough for most crews, I don't think.
I
I
don't think
mean,
so either. No,
yeah.
that is just the more I think about it, it just continues to blow my mind over and over. I'm like, gosh, that's not much time to get all that done. And then get it all back. You're right. You got to get everything back to where it was as well.
Well, you
Um,
do. I mean, Mary Carlson and her husband stayed and wrapped a few things afterwards. And then there were
I,
some pickup shots on the bridge. They went back and shot there. So that had to be reset up about a month
okay.
after we finished shooting. So there are, as I said, there are some other days like the aerial shot days, or some days where they were just getting uh, pieces of small town life, you know,
Yep.
um,
Hmm.
so
Wow. But
things
still,
like
that
that.
but the nitty gritty, if you will, though, really,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, boots on the ground kind of stuff was those 12 days amazing. Wow. I got a question for you. How
Sure.
was the residents of the town? How was the town when you guys were kind of taken over a little bit, with the cameras and the crews and does it how do they receive you guys for that's 12 days?
Some of them were very, very welcoming. Like
Mhm.
our access to the schools were. There was a lady who works with the film commission there and is also an actress and also is friends with Eric and such. And so
Okay.
we had access to uh, older school desks from like the facility's storage. We shot
Okay.
in another area where in an older school that was no longer used as that anymore, but we were able to gather
Ah,
supplies from the main school in town. So there were
okay.
certainly uh and definitely people came out, locals and such, brought out their tents and the vendors. And so there were a lot of
Nice.
really people that were really giving and made it
Yeah,
possible.
that's great.
Um, and then there were people that like a movie crew, even a small one, makes an impact, you
Mhm.
know? And so
Yeah,
definitely there are people who don't like the break in routine. So
true.
I know Eric went to I don't know how many actual city council meetings in order to make
Wow.
sure that we could we could shoot in certain places. Like the
Mhm.
bridge was a weird one because it was part of the town, but I believe it was technically on federal land. So there was a real question as to
Ah,
how to get permissions for it. And um, but
wow.
but yeah, as a film crew, you do have a responsibility to go in and be as nice and accommodating and
Mhm.
friendly and as much as you can as a designer on low budget stuff, as much as you can go in and make the people that own the locations feel a part of it, the more
Yeah.
um, the more you can do. And every once in a while, you'll
Mhm.
even get people jumping in then and being like offering extra stuff that you never asked for, just
Oh,
because they get
man.
excited by the process. And
Yeah.
so it's important that you go in and that you really respect the space and you respect the people. And
Mhm.
regardless of what personalities you run into, you'll get better results if you do that.
Absolutely, yes, for sure. And I imagine, those that allow their homes to be used, I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, if you ask me, like, if someone wants to knock on the door and say, you know, we'd like to use your house for a movie, can you mind staying in a hotel for a couple weeks and we'll put you up? I mean, to see my house in a movie, that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I think that's pretty awesome. So, um, now, like you say, some people don't like the disruption. Of course, I get
Mhm,
that, but um, I was just curious because since it is a small town, like it is a real small
mhm.
town, I kind of what that was like, when you're asking those townsfolk. to kind of be, let us invade your space for a
Hmm.
couple, for 12 days and do what we need to do. But like you said, though, you guys being respectful, treating him well and all that stuff. It's that give and take, right?
Hmm.
That kind of scenario. Um, Now we got some questions in the audience because we are going to kind of start to head towards the exit here, guys. We're going to be respectful of Shane's time. So I've got some questions that have come through that I'd like to from the audience would like to ask you.
Hmm.
Let's see. We got our first one here came earlier from Paula. Paula asks, "What was the most challenging production you had to work on?" So this could be any of your career thus far.
Hmm. I think it really depends on. I mean, each production has its own special challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did a hockey movie up in Boston, and that one was certainly for the size crew I had very, very ambitious in terms of the amount of redecorating of sets and the number of sets that we were doing. Um, and just sheer like 18-hour days, like every day, you know, first 3 weeks, not a day off type of thing in
Oh
order
wow!
to. So there's that kind of physical challenge of doing that. There was a maybe not that interesting to horror community, but I did um, a Hallmark Christmas movie at the Biltmore Estate. It was a
Oh
1940s time travel movie.
wow!
Um,
That's cool.
and it was challenging just because we were shooting essentially in this museum grade place. And so you had to be so respectful of it. And there
Mm-hmm.
were, you had to please both the place and please the network and please the producers. And it was just a
Wow.
balancing act that way.
Yeah.
Um,
You
so,
break it, you buy it, right?
well, right. I mean, in that case, we had huge amounts of, that was less physical because I had my crew plus like 50 people on site from facilities and the
Wow.
museum services and such that were helping make that possible. And that was certainly a larger scale since we
Yeah.
were bringing in vintage film equipment shipped in from LA. And, you know, we did a 3D
Wow.
printed hourglass that was a time travel device and stuff like that. So there are those types of challenges. And then there's challenges, and I won't like pinpoint specific productions, but
Sure. Sure.
um, there are certain productions where it really comes down to, are the people nice and are they organized? And no matter what the challenges are, as long as the people are nice and they're organized, which is the case with this crew that makes
Mm-hmm.
Founders Day and She Came from the Woods, then you can get through the physical challenges of it or any particular problems that you have
Mm-hmm.
with it. I don't know if
Okay.
that answer
Yeah.
gave you one production that was the most difficult, but
Oh, that's good. No, it's great. I'm really curious about this Hallmark or was it Lifetime or Hallmark? Is it Hallmark? You
it was
said
Hallmark. Yeah.
this time travel Christmas movie. I'm very intrigued right now about this. I got to
It
look this
had
up.
Jonathan Frakes and Robert Picardo from Star Trek in it.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah, my
it was a fun
goodness.
one. Yeah.
Hey, I have no problem with the Hallmark movies, man. I think that they can be really cool, and they always leave you feeling good, at the end, and unless it's a thriller, But even then, they usually catch the bad guy. So, um, but that's more Lifetime than it is Hallmark, I think.
Right. I've done
um,
both.
yeah, that's so cool. Hey, listen,
The indie
I
horror
am.
is the stuff that I enjoy the most, though.
Is
It's
it?
where you have the fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering. and of course, being that my channel, as you can see, I got Ghostface behind me here, and
Hmm.
Scream is a big part of this channel and content. So I always
Hmm.
like to ask, and I honestly, usually never do. But I'm going to ask you
Uh-huh.
now that I'm thinking of it. What is your favorite scary movie? Like, what is your favorite of all time? If you had to pick one.
I mean, I don't know if it's because it's horror, but if I'm naming the one like horror movie that goes into like my top five, it's Jaws.
Oh,
So,
nice.
and
Okay.
then Pan's Labyrinth is probably would
Mm,
be next.
wow.
Now,
Okay. Yeah.
now your channel though seems to does it specializes in slashers more than anything.
Mostly slashers. That's just because that's my personal favorite subgenre within horror.
Uh-huh.
Is slashers is number one, and then psychological horror is number two. So
Gotcha.
I enjoy those as well a lot. But I'm a sucker for a person in a mask killing people, and you're trying to. It's the who done it. The who done it. Now, no, not all people in a mask are who done it. A lot of times you know who it is, but
Mm-hmm.
when you add in that who done it factor, like seasoning, like
Mm-hmm.
Founders Day did, and Thanksgiving, Eli Ross Thanksgiving was brilliant, and of course the Scream films. That's probably like my most favorite when it's you're trying to figure it out and you get the reveal at the end. That's yeah
Gotcha.
from but I do enjoy other things as well. And but that you're right, slashers is definitely the primary focus for me because it's my favorite
Yeah.
style. Yeah, I like that the most. As long as they're not coming after me.
As far
Oh,
as slashers, I'd have to go the earlier the better, like
okay.
Blood and Black Lace or
Oh,
Black Christmas or
there you
Halloween,
go.
that kind of progression, or any like, and they're not all slashers, but
Yeah.
70s Argento, more
Oh,
that
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Italian giallo type stuff is what I
Hmm.
really enjoy.
Man, Argento, that's some great whodunits there. I mean,
Yeah.
really good whodunits there. Uh, oh yeah, Tenebrae is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just so good. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Deep Red. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I could keep going on. There's several that from those Italian horror films that were great murder mysteries and good stuff. Good stuff. And I was born on not born. I was raised watching Scooby Doo, and
Okay.
I honestly believe like part of the love I have as an adult from whodunits and unmasking came
Uh-huh.
from the Scooby Doo when I was a kid. Like young,
That makes
it's
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it when I was a little kid, and I still do. I just like it a little more bloody now. That's all. But um, all right. So
I
we've
wonder
got
when we'll get the PG-13 Scooby-Doo movies.
right. I know.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm like it's interesting. I wonder if that day will. You have to think it'll happen eventually at some point. But it would be cool to see it. I would be down for that. Let's see. We got a few more questions here from the folks. We'll
Okay.
get to as many as we can. And then we'll have to call it a night, guys, because again, we want to be respectful of Shane's time, and we want Shane to want to come back at some point if opportunity allows as well. So we want to make this a great experience. Mayanne actually is asking a question about that. Mayanne says, Shane, would you come back for a watch party? She's just asking it right up, straight up, right now. They love the watch parties. We have such
Yeah.
fun. Um, and listen, no pressure, man. You don't have to answer
No, no,
now,
I
but
would come back as long as I'm like not in the middle of a production at the
yeah.
time, then absolutely.
Oh,
So,
great. Hey, there you go, guys. You heard it here. Shane is on board to come back for the watch party. If we can get the scheduling, like I say, as long as he's not in the middle of working, that's fantastic. Nathaniel has a question. Shane, are there any other aspects of the business that you'd like to try in the future? Hmm.
um, Well, I've done a lot. You know, I come
Mm-hmm.
from I live in a small town, so for a long time before I was lucky enough to be doing production design full time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, you'd really have to switch modes. So one day you're DPing a short, another day you're running sound, you know.
Wow.
So certainly I've done a lot of that. I do enjoy getting into development on projects early on,
Okay.
really getting in when scripts are first being written, even if I'm not the writer, just being able to throw ideas back and forth. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I've had a writing partner, and you know we work on projects, but even if that doesn't go somewhere, it makes me stronger on story. So um, I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
shooting more, but I don't want to do that professionally. Like,
Okay.
at least not. I'm not looking to work on bigger movies as a DP, but I
Okay.
enjoy going and working on smaller projects and changing out hats and
Mm-hmm.
doing other things like that. So
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Well, that's a great question, actually. That's really good. Thanks, Nathaniel, for that one. We'll do a couple of more here before we wrap it up. Jason, the nice one, says, were there any unique challenges you experienced during the design process for Founders Day?
hmm. I think I can't get into spoilers too much, but specifically the identity of the killer
Mm,
really informed
mm-hmm.
the design and um, the clues that were left. You know, the
Yes.
messages includes and the way
Mm-hmm.
that those were drawn and designed were inspired by who the killer was.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yeah. And that was it. And I'm sure you directly had a hand in how that was looked, right? How that was,
I did. I mean, I was
yeah.
personally
Mm-hmm.
doing it all myself. So
Nice. Okay,
um,
so did you keep any of them? Were you able to keep any of that stuff? Like as
Uh, Eric and Carson have those.
ah,
So, yeah.
well, at
I
least
don't
they've
keep a
got them.
lot of mementos from
Yeah.
stuff. Every once in a while, I'll keep a little bit of something, but if I want to, I can make my own. So,
That's
um,
true. You're right.
I do, I do want to give a shout out to my props guy, John Lauterback, who's both responsible for, and you were trying to hold off the reveal of the weapon, but
Go ahead.
he's the person who constructed that weapon. He's also the
Ooh,
person who does all the special effects and such. So
okay.
he wears both those hats. He handles the props
Yeah.
and does the special effects. And he's been
Nice.
with me on a ton of movies. And he's doing mostly gaffing these days, but he still
Mhm.
comes on board anytime I have a horror movie. So he did this. He did She Came from the Woods. He did Student Body with me and did both props and effects on that. So
Oh, nice.
um,
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I'll just say the weapon is so unique. You know, a gavel. I mean, he's holding it right here in the poster. And it's a as I said last time with Eric was here in this group, it's this very specially equipped gavel. That's all I'm gonna say. And man, it's unique. It's different, right? It's a different. You don't expect that. It's not your standard weapon you would see in a slasher movie, which is really cool. Yeah. Well, no, that's great. That's fantastic. Big shout out. And so cool that you guys have worked together so much. That's great. I love to see that. Um, all right, guys, we're gonna do one more question, guys, and we're already after 10 o'clock, so we're gonna do one more question. Let me see. I got a couple here. I'm gonna pick one. Okay, let's go with Okay, we might be able to squeeze two. This one here, Mayanne was asking any new projects that you can share right now that you're working on.
Not right now. I'm reading
Okay,
scripts and
okay,
but I can't really comment on the ones that I'm
makes
looking at
sense.
right now.
Sure, no worries. We get it. We get that. Okay. Uh, and then real quick, this is I thought we'd have time since that I figured that'd be a quick answer. Fear the Phantom wants to ask you, what's your favorite scene or line from Jaws? I think I got to throw this in there.
I think there's two. I think there's the ultimate, that movie's about a lot of things, and it's really about the
Yeah.
way that a small town reacts to tragedy. But at the heart are these male relationships. And there's two scenes like that. The one's the obvious scene where they're all comparing scars, and
Hmm.
Quint gives his big speech uh,
Hmm.
about World War II and the sharks and all of that. But so that's one of them.
Okay.
And the other one's just the small, quiet scene between Brody and his kid where they're sitting at the dinner table and they are mimicking each other's movements. The little boy is mimicking his movement. So it's those,
Yeah.
everything else is brilliant. You can take any scene out of that movie and um and talk about it and talk about just how perfect it is, but ultimately it's those small human moments that create the stakes that make the rest of the movie work.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. And I just want to say this, that for those of you who haven't seen the movie, or even if you have, really, Founders Day is a really great. I'm just transitioning obviously from Jaws back to Founders Day,
Yeah,
but yeah, you go like, wait a minute, we're talking about Jaws, but no, just
yeah.
um, but Founders Day, guys, I just want to remind you or share with you that it is a great film. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot going on in this movie, and that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want any spoilers. I want you guys to go in as blind as possible to just absorb what you see, take it all in, and then as quickly as possible, I recommend turning it right back on and watching it a second time, and then seeing it through the lenses you'll be wearing then. And it's pretty. I mean, it's amazing. Great rewatchability. That's what I guess that's what I'm getting at. The rewatcher factor, which for me, Shane, is I factor that into how much I enjoy a movie. How much do I want to rewatch it? Right? That's a big thing. And this is one that I would love to continue throwing on and watching it again and again and again. So it passed all the checks for me personally, all the boxes.
For me,
And
there's two scenes kind of like that in Founders Day, and I think I can talk about it without getting into too much detail, but just two very human moments.
mhm.
One is between two dads in a rainstorm, and it's just a brief
Mm,
moment.
yes,
Um,
yes. I know that
and
scene.
the other is uh, two kids, two teenagers in a bedroom at night. And a lot of the
Yep.
performances can be very, uh, the police chief is very comedic, and then other
Right.
performances like the politicians are very satirical and broad.
Mhm.
But then, there's some moments with the teenagers where it's just very grounded and real. And I think that comes from that
Yeah.
perspective, like of the
Yep.
teenagers in this crazy world around them. So um,
Yeah. True.
there's been some talk about the different tones of the movie, but that's one of the things I really love about Eric and Carson's scripts and the way they
Mhm.
write is that, from the point of view of these teenagers, it is real life. It is high stakes. It is grounded at the same time. But
Yes.
then there's all this broad satirical craziness that's happening around them at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
And so on a
Well said.
rewatch, I think those small moments have bigger impact knowing the full story.
I 100% agree. They do. They really stand out even in a different way than the first time. And yeah, I love that. I just love that part of that element to it. And I love what you did with the locations you had to work with, and I love how the movie looks visually, all of the I mean, just from A to Z, honestly. I think you did an amazing job and using what you had at your disposal and turning it into a great looking movie. So thanks for your passion in this film and what you did, because it's just as important as the script and the cast and everyone else. So I appreciate you, man, and what you did here. And it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I was going to get to student body. We're way out of time. I'm going to have you back to talk about some other stuff, but that's okay, because Founders Day is just again, I can't talk enough about it. It's I think it's just a great film. Love the love all the I mean the marketing here, the posters are look so good. And anyway, guys, just if you just stay tuned here to the channel. As soon as I have a date, and I'll be looking for it regularly, I will make the announcement, and I will let you know when you can rent the thing and the movie rather and buy it. And then also I'll go to work with Shane and Eric and Jack, the whole team, and try to see who's interested in the watch party and we can coordinate it. And that'll be a fun time as well. Something to look forward to for sure. All right. Well, Shane, I think that we'll leave it there. I think that I want to be respectful of your time here. We actually we gone a little over, so I don't want to keep you too late. And I know it's getting late, but I want to thank you so much for your time tonight. This was an amazing time, and in such wisdom you shared and insight. And I can speak for everyone to say we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me on. Thank you for the support of the film. And thank you
Yeah.
guys for coming and listening and asking questions.
Yes, absolutely, guys. I remember, if you haven't seen it, definitely be ready, be waiting. I'll let you know whenever it's out. Jonathan says, thank you to both of us. This was an awesome time. Thank you for your time. Great. Awesome, Jonathan. We appreciate it. All right. So on that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. I just want to say real quick to my audience, we had a couple of anniversaries. Jason, real quick, 11 months a channel member. Oh man, you're almost getting the gold skull for 1 year of membership. Hang in there, Jason. You're right there. I'm so happy you're part of the community too, and you're very welcome. And I appreciate all that you do, my friend. And also, real quick, Melissa, 13 months now as a member of the channel. Let's go. Absolutely. Thanks for your faithful support, Melissa. Just wanted to acknowledge you guys' anniversaries before we end the stream. All right. On that note, we'll go ahead and call it a stream. Shane, I'll be back in touch with you as we get closer to the video coming out, and we can chat again about maybe your schedule and availability, and I'm sure we can find something that'll work whenever that time comes. I look forward to it very much.
Right.
But this was great, and thank you again, my friend. We'll definitely. You're very welcome. We'll talk soon. To everyone in the chat and watching on replay, thank you for being here and for your great questions. And we will catch you next time. Have a great night, everyone. See ya.
Bye, everyone.